Chapter 56. Talented men bid farewell at Three Mountain Gate. The people of Wu-Ho are blinded by profit and power. When Yu Ta had buried his parents, he told his younger brother he meant to go back to Nanking to thank Tu Shaoqing and look for a teaching post since his money was finished. He packed his things, said goodbye to Yu Chung, crossed the Yangtze, and came to Tu's riverside house. When questioned about the lawsuit, he described all that had happened, and Tu was much impressed by Yu Chung's conduct. As they were chatting, it was announced that Mr. Tang of Yiqing had called. Yu inquired who he was. "He's the man who asked you to tutor his sons," said Tu. "You may as well greet him." In came Brigadier General Tang, greeted them, and sat down. "When I was privileged to meet you in Dr. Yu's house the day before yesterday, Shaoqing," said Tang, "I felt all base sentiments vanish in your presence. I called on you yesterday, but found you out, so I have been waiting eagerly for a whole day to see you again. What is this gentleman's honorable name?" "This is my cousin Yu Ta," said Tu. "Last year you invited him to be your tutor." "I did not expect to meet another eminent scholar today." The general was delighted. "This is a great pleasure." He bowed again, then sat down. "Sir," said Yu Ta, "after achieving great deeds for your country, you now live in retirement and remain silent about your exploits. This is the way of great generals of old." "I have no choice in the matter," replied Tang. "Thinking back, I realize I was somewhat too impulsive and achieved nothing for the state, simply offending my colleague. It's no use regretting it now." "The world knows what to think," responded Yu. "You must not be over-modest, sir." "May I ask what brings you here, uncle?" inquired Tu. "Where are you staying?" "I had nothing to do at home, so I decided to come to Nanking to meet some talented men. I am staying at the Temple of Imperial Favor. I intend to pay my respects to Dr. Yu, Chuang Shao Kuang, and his nephew." When the tea was drunk, the general took his leave, and the other two escorted him to his chair. Then Yu stayed for a time with Tu. When Brigadier General Tang called at the Imperial College, he handed in his card. He was told the doctor was out. He went on to Northgate Bridge to see Chuang Cho Chiang, who invited him in as soon as his card was presented. Tang alighted and entered the hall, and when his host came in, they bowed and sat down, each saying how happy he was to meet the other. Then Tang mentioned his intention of calling on Chuang Shao Kuang at Lotus Lake. "He happens to be here," said Chuang. "Would you like to meet him?" "Nothing would please me better," responded Tang. Chuang ordered a servant to invite his uncle in. Presently Chuang Shao Kuang came in, greeted Tang, and sat down. Then tea was served again. "Fortunately, you have come just before Dr. Yu's departure," said Chuang Shao Kuang to Tang. "The double ninth festival is near. Why don't we make up a party to celebrate the festival and bid farewell to Dr. Yu? We can spend an enjoyable day together." "An excellent idea," said Chuang Cho Chiang. "On that date we can all meet here." Soon Tang got up to go. "I shall see you again before long at this gathering," he said. "Then we can talk all day." The other two saw him out. The general also called on Qi Heng Shang and Wu Shu. Chuang Cho Chiang's servant took 5 taels to Tang's lodging in lieu of a feast, and 3 days later Chuang's steward arrived with an invitation requesting the guest to be there early. Chuang Cho Chiang was waiting for them, and Chuang Shao Kuang was already there. Soon Qi Heng Shang, Wu Shu, and Tu Shaoqing arrived. Chuang Cho Chiang had cleared out a roomy pavilion, which was planted on all sides with chrysanthemums. It was the 5th of the 9th month, and the weather was dry and clear. Wearing lined gowns, they chatted as they sipped tea, and presently Brigadier General Tang, Second Captain He Xiao, and Dr. Yu arrived. The others welcomed them in. After making their bows, they all sat down. "We come from many different parts of the country," said Tang, "and are fortunate to attend a gathering of such distinguished men. This meeting was surely predestined. I am only sorry Dr. Tu will be leaving so soon. and wonder when we shall have the pleasure of meeting again. My humble house is honored by the presence of so many eminent citizens, said Chuang Shoukyuang. The stars in heaven must reflect that the worthies for hundreds of miles around are here. Once they were seated, a servant brought in tea. When the bowls were uncovered, the tea looked as pale as water, but it gave off a rare fragrance, and the leaves were floating on the surface. Following this, some Tian-tu tea was served, and although the leaves had been kept for over a year, this brew was even more fragrant than the first. When you two gentlemen were in the army, said Dr. Yu with a smile, I doubt if you ever set eyes on tea like this. Not to speak of the army, replied Hisao Yun Hisun. During my 6 years' stay at Green Maple City, I thought myself lucky to be drinking fresh water. It was so much better than horse dung. So it was true that the water and grass at Green Maple City were enough for several years, said Tang. Captain Hisao is even a match for Su Hao of Northern Wei, said Chuang Shoukyuang. Conditions may change from one generation to another, remarked Chi. Prime ministers and generals should be scholars, said Tu. If not for his learning, how could Captain Hisao have achieved so much? What I find most amusing, said Wu Shu, is the fact that the commanders at the frontier didn't know there was grass or water, but the clerks in the capital knew all right when they estimated cost. Now was it the ministers in the capital who knew all that, or was it their clerks? If the ministers are so well learned, no wonder the court thinks more highly of civil than military officers. On the other hand, if it is the clerks who do the checking, that shows how essential the filing system is. At this there was a general laughter. The music stopped now, and they took their seats at table. As the players came in to pay their respects, Chuang Fei Hisong stood up and said, Since you gentlemen are our guests today, I have engaged the 19 famous actors on the Pear Garden list, and hope each of you will name a scene to be played. What is the Pear Garden list? asked Dr. Yu. Yu Ta described the romantic contest which Tu Shin Chiang had held there, and they all laughed heartily. Has your worthy cousin joined the ministry yet? Tang asked Tu. Tu answered that he had. Shin Chiang's judgment was most fair and discriminating, said Wu Shu. I'm only afraid after he's joined the government and become chief examiner, he'll miss the genuine talent when he marks the candidates' papers. The others laughed again. They feasted till dusk, when the operas were over and they went home. Chuang Cho Chiang found a skillful artist to paint this farewell feast, and all the guests wrote poems. Then each sent a feast to Dr. Yu to bid him farewell. Over 1,000 families in Nanking bade farewell to Dr. Yu, who became so tired of this that he would not let anyone see him to his boat. He hired a small boat and boarded it at Westwater Gate, letting Tu Shaoqing alone come to see him off. When you have gone, uncle, said Tu, I shall have no one to whom to turn. Dr. Yu could not help being sad. He invited Tu into the cabin. I can speak frankly to you, Shaoqing, he said. I used to be a poor scholar, but during the 6 or 7 years that I've been in Nanking, I've saved enough to buy a paddy field producing 30 bushels a year. Now I may be appointed to a ministry, or I may be made a prefect or magistrate. I shall stay at my post 2 years or 3 at the most, and save up enough to buy another plot of land worth 20 bushels of rice a year. Then my wife and I needn't starve, and that's good enough for me. I am not concerned for my son and grandchildren, because in addition to teaching my son the classics, I have taught him medicine so that he can make his own living. Why should I be an official? I'll be writing to you constantly. Then, shedding tears, they parted. Tu went ashore and did not turn back till the doctor's boat was out of sight. Yu Ta was staying with him, and Tu told him what Dr. Yu had said. Reluctant to advance, glad to retire, the doctor is one of nature's true gentlemen, declared Yu admiringly. If we become officials, we should take him as our model. They marveled together at Dr. Yu. That evening a letter arrived from Yu Chung, asking his brother to come home. The tutor whom our cousin Yu Liang invited has left, he wrote. You wants you to teach his son, and would like you to take up your duties soon. Come back as fast as you can." Yu Ta explained this to Tu, and said he must leave. The next day he packed up and crossed the Yangtze. Tu saw him across the river, then went home. When Yu Ta reached home, his brother met him and showed him the note. Yu Liang respectfully invites his cousin, Yu Ta, to be his son's tutor at a salary of 40 taels a year, with additional gifts at festivals. The next day, Yu went to return Yu's call. The latter greeted him and was pleased to see him. When they had bowed and sat down, a servant brought in tea. "My son is a stupid boy," said Yu, "who has had no schooling since he was a child. I have wanted for years to ask you to teach him, cousin, but you were always away. It is my son's good fortune now that you are home. Your family and mine have produced successful provincial and metropolitan graduates by the cartload. That means little to us. Above all, under your tuition, I want my son to learn your moral character. This is the most important thing." "I am old and foolish," answered Yu. "Our families are closely related, but you are the only one I find congenial. Since I look on your son as my own, I shall certainly teach him to the best of my ability. As for passing the provincial or metropolitan examinations, since I have never passed myself, I may not be the best teacher. As for moral character, your son has your family tradition to guide him. There is nothing I can add." They both chuckled at this. Then a lucky day was chosen for the new tutor to take up his duties. Yu turned up early that morning, and young Master Yu came in to pay his respects. He was a very intelligent boy. Yu escorted Yu to the classroom, and the tutor took his seat there. Yu then left him and went to his study. Almost at once the gateman brought in a guest. This was Tang San's brother, Tang Er, who had passed the long provincial examination for civil officers, and entered the college in the same year as Yu Liang. He had come today to keep the new tutor company. Yu made him sit down and offered him tea. "So your son starts his studies soon?" said Tang. "Yes. This tutor is excellent, but he lacks patience and goes in for miscellaneous subjects to the detriment of his orthodox studies. Although Mr. Yu is not guilty of the worst practices of modern scholars, he likes to imitate the scholars of the early years of our dynasty, and this is rather radical. My son is still too young to take examinations. I have invited my cousin to teach him some moral principles, so that he won't turn out a low, obsequious character." A little later, Tang Er said, "I have something to ask a man of your erudition." "What erudition have I? Don't make fun of me." "No, indeed. I want your advice. During the last examination, which I was lucky enough to pass, a nephew of mine passed at the same time in Fingyang Prefecture. So besides being my fellow candidate, he was passed by the same examiner. He's not been here since then, but now he's come to sacrifice to his ancestors. He called on me yesterday with a card inscribed, 'Your fellow candidate and nephew.' When I return his call, should I style myself, 'Your fellow candidate and uncle'?" "What do you mean?" asked Yu. "You heard what I said. My nephew passed the same time that I did, under the same examiner. He inscribes his card, 'Your fellow candidate and nephew.' Should I call on him with a similar card? Of course I know that two men who pass under one examiner are called fellow candidates, but he must be out of his mind to write 'Your fellow candidate and nephew.' Why is he out of his mind?" Yu leaned back and laughed. "I never heard anything so absurd," he declared. Tang Er's face fell. "Don't take offense, friend," he said. "Although yours is a distinguished family, it hasn't produced officials for some time, and you've never passed yourself. Perhaps you don't know the official etiquette. My nephew has met no end of high officials in Peking, and he must have a reason for writing his card this way. He can't have got it out of his own head. If you think this way correct, brother, why consult me? I see you don't know. Wait till Mr. Yu comes out for a meal, and I'll ask him." Just then a servant came in. "The fifth Mr. Yao is here," he said. Yu and Tang stood up as Mr. Yao came in. They bowed to each other and sat down. "Fifth cousin," said Yu, "why did you disappear after lunch yesterday? We had wine ready in the evening, but you didn't come." "Did you have lunch here yesterday, Mr. Yao?" asked Tang. "I met you in the afternoon, and you said you just had lunch with the 6th Mr. Fang in Benevolent Fortune shop. Why tell a lie like that?" The servant brought in food, and they asked Mr. Yu in. The tutor sat in the highest seat, and Tang Air opposite him, Mr. Yao in the place of a guest, and Yu as host. After the meal, Yu told Yu Ta with a chuckle about the card. Yu's face turned purple, and the veins on his neck swelled with anger. "Who could say such a thing?" he exploded. "Tell me, which is more important in life, ancestors or success in examinations?" "Ancestors, of course," said Yu. "That goes without saying." "In that case," said Yu, "how can a man who's only just passed the provincial examination abandon family relationships and consider himself his uncle's fellow candidate? May I never again hear of such a flouting of Confucian morality. This nephew of yours was lucky to pass, Mr. Tang. He must be a complete moron. If he were my nephew, I'd take him to the ancestral hall and give him a few dozen strokes before the ancestors' shrines." When Tang and Yao saw Yu was red with rage and knew he was in one of his tempers again, they changed the conversation. Soon the tea was finished, and Yu went back to his classroom. "I'll take a stroll and then come back," said Yao, standing up. "I suppose today when you go out, you'll say you've been dining with the 2nd Mr. Ping," sneered Tang. Yao gave a guffaw. "Today everybody knows I was here with the new tutor. I can't pretend to have been anywhere else." He went out grinning. Before long he was back. "There's a guest in the hall to see you," he said to Yu. "He says he's from the prefect's yamen, and he's sitting in the hall. Hurry up and receive him." "I know no such man," said Yu. "Where can he be from?" While he was wondering, the stranger's car was brought in. "Your fellow student and relative, Chi Wei Hsiao, pays his respects." Yu went into the hall to meet him. When they had bowed and sat down, Chi Wei Hsiao produced a letter and handed it to Yu. "I have been in Peking," said Chi, "but because I was going to accompany the prefect to your honorable district, your worthy cousin Tu Shin Ching asked me to bring you a letter. I am happy to have the honor of meeting you." Yu opened the letter and read it through. "Are you a friend, sir, of Prefect Li?" he asked. "Prefect Li was a student of my uncle's, Governor Hisun, so he has invited me to work in his yamen. What business brings you here, sir? Since there are no outsiders here, I can tell you. The exorbitant interest in the pawn shops here is more than the people can take. Therefore the prefect has sent me to make an investigation. If the charge proves true, we must do away with this evil." Yu moved his chair closer to Chi Wei Hsiao. "This shows the prefect's benevolence," he whispered. "No pawn shops dare charge high interest, but the 2 Fang pawn shops, Benevolent Fortune and Benevolent Greatness. The Fang is a local gendry in the salt business, who are on the best of terms with the county and prefectural officials, so they do just as they please, and people dare not protest. If you want to do away with this abuse, you need only close these 2 shops. Since the prefect is a high official, why should he have any dealings with such men? Please bear in mind what I've said, sir, but don't disclose that I told you." "I am grateful for your information," said Chi. "I ought to invite you to a meal to express my gratitude and profit from your conversation," said Yu. "But I am afraid I could not prepare anything good enough, and this little place is all ears and eyes. I shall send a poor meal to your lodgings tomorrow. Please don't take this amiss." "You do me too much honor," protested Chi. Then he took his leave, and Yu went back to his study. "Did he come from the prefect?" demanded the fifth Mr. Yao. "Certainly. I don't believe it." Yao shook his head and laughed. Tang Air thought hard, then said, "Yao's probably right. How could he be from the prefect's yamen? The prefect is not a friend of yours. He's friends with the 3rd Mr. Ping and the 6th Mr. Fang. When I heard this man had come, that set me thinking. If he was sent here from the prefect's yamen, wouldn't he call on Mr. Ping and Mr. Fang instead of you, brother? It sounds too unlikely. I suspect the fellow is passing himself off as from the prefect's yamen to go around cheating people out of money. You'd better be on your guard." "He may have called on them first," said Yu. "He certainly hasn't," Mr. Yao laughed. "If he had called on them, why should he call on you?" "It wasn't the prefect who told him to call," replied Yu. "My cousin Tu Xin Ching of Tian Chang, who's in the capital, gave him a letter for me. He's the well-known Chi Wei Hsiao." "That's even more impossible." Tang Er waved this explanation aside. "Chi Wei Hsiao is a famous scholar who judged that Pearl Garden contest. Since he's such a celebrity, he must know all the Hanlins and officials in the capital. Besides, Tu Xin Ching of Tian Chang is very thick with the fourth Mr. Ping. If Chi brought a letter from Peking for you from Mr. Tu, wouldn't he bring one for Mr. Ping? It can't be Chi Wei Hsiao." "Well, never mind whether it is or isn't," said Yu. "It's time to change the subject." He called sharply to a servant. "Why isn't the meal ready yet?" One servant came and announced, "The meal is served, sir." Another servant came in with a pack on his back. "Old Mr. Ching is here from the country," he said. In came a grizzled man in a square cap, blue cotton gown, and thin-soled cloth shoes, who had a topless complexion. He bowed and sat down. "This is fine," he declared. "I happen to come on the day you've engaged a tutor. I can join in the feast to celebrate." Yu ordered a servant to fetch water for Mr. Chang to wash in, and to brush off the mud on his clothes and legs. Then he asked them all into the hall where the feast was served. Yu sat in the highest place with the others below him, and since it was dusk they lit 2 glass lanterns in the hall. These lanterns had been a gift from the emperor to Yu's great-grandfather when he was Secretary of State over 60 years ago, but they looked as new as ever. "Old houses have tall trees," quoted Yu Yuta. "That saying is perfectly true. No other family here has lanterns like these." "Mr. Yu," said Ching, "for 30 years people east of the river prosper, and for 30 years those on the west. 30 years ago, how powerful your 2 families were. I saw it with my own eyes. But now the Pings and Fangs are doing better each year. Not to mention anything else. See how thick the prefect and magistrate Wang are with them? They're always sending yamen secretaries with important messages to their houses. Of course common folk are afraid of them. Those secretaries never call on anyone else." "Have any secretaries come recently from the yamen?" asked Tang. A man called Chi has come down on some business. He's staying with the abbot in Precious Wood Temple. He called first thing this morning on the 6th Mr. Fang in Benevolent Fortune shop. And Mr. Fang asked the 2nd Mr. Ping over as well. The 3 of them went into the library and had a long, long talk. I don't know who's in the prefect's bad books now that he should send this fellow Chi here." Tang looked at Yao and gave a sarcastic laugh. "What did I say?" he cried. Yu Yuta was disgusted by the way they talked. "Were you granted the clothes and cap of a licentiate last year, sir?" he asked Mr. Ching. "I was," said Ching. "Luckily the examiner was a colleague of the 4th Mr. Ping. So I got Mr. Ping to write a letter, and that's how it was granted." Yu laughed. "When the examiner saw your ruddy face and youthful appearance, uncle, I'm surprised he granted your request." "I told him my face was swollen," said Mr. Ching. They laughed at that and went on drinking. "You and I are old, Mr. Yu," said Ching. "We're no good for anything now. Only young men can prove their worth. I hope our young brother Yu here will pass the next examination with honors and become a metropolitan graduate at the same time as Tang Er. Even if they don't go as far as the 4th Mr. Ping, they may be appointed magistrate-elects like the 2nd and 3rd Mr. Ping, to bring glory on their ancestors and reflect credit on us." Such talk disgusted Yu Yuta even more. "Let's not go on talking about such things," he said. "Let's play a drinking game." At once they passed the game called Happy Drinking, and they drank for half a night, till they were all tipsy. Then Mr. Ching was helped to a room to sleep, and lanterns were lit to light Yu, Tang, and Yao to their homes. In the middle of the night, Ching woke up retching, and before it was light he called the servant boy and secretly bade him send in two of the stewards in charge of rents. After a stealthy consultation with them, he told them to ask their master in. But to know what followed, you must read the next chapter.